the story of Kevin the Lamb. This Advent season, we will be hearing Kevin's story as he journeyed towards something more. We all long for something more, and I think each of us will hear something that will draw us closer to that thing that Kevin discovers in the end. Let's start with Kevin's story with chapter 1. In a place not too far away, during a time not too different from today, there lived a lamb named Kevin. Kevin did not have the wool pulled over his eyes. He knew he had a pretty good life. He had all the grass he could eat, all the water he could drink, and other lambs to run around with in the pasture. He even got a free haircut once a year. However, Kevin couldn't help but feel like there was something more to life. He just did not know what more was. Kevin wasn't sure how to find more. Most of all, Kevin had no idea why he was drawn to this thing called more. What Kevin did know was that he would never be completely happy until he at least tried to answer the more questions. One night, as luck would have it, and as the plot of this yarn necessitates, Kevin found a small hole in the fence. Kevin realized this was his opportunity to go in search of more. As Kevin stared at the hole, he was apprehensive. Fear of the unknown began to paralyze him. But the need to find his more slowly eroded his fear, and his confidence grew. Kevin edged ever closer to the hole until in one quick motion, he slipped through. Once on the other side, his confidence grew. With his woolly chest out and hooves prancing with pride, Kevin turned to the east, where he saw a bright star. Kevin felt drawn to the star and began walking toward it. That walk turned out to be a long one. He walked for miles, crossed streams, creeks, and even a river. Kevin would rest and eat during the day and follow the star eastward during the night. While there were times that Kevin was scared, he never felt alone. Kevin knew that more was out there. He just had to have the courage to find it. Kevin would rest in parks and woods along his journey. He overheard people talk of a place called Wilmington, where there was a green field. The idea of a green field seemed like a good place to be for a lamb looking for more. He continued his journey until he ended up at a place called Greenfield Lake. Kevin could see no green fields at Greenfield Lake. He was confused by the name, but there were plenty of places to sleep, food to eat, and water to drink. The star he had been following seemed to be resting over the city, so he decided to make Greenfield Lake his temporary home while he searched the city for more. Memory is a tricky thing. As a people in the wilderness, the Israelites were tired of the manna God provided. They were tired of traveling, wandering, and wondering about the end of their torment. They could only remember that goodness they experienced in Egypt: shelter, fresh fish, routine. While their memory reminded them of how they had access to fresh fish and vegetables, it did not remind the Israelites of the pain and anguish of being held in captivity. In a way, Kevin is captive to his memories as well. Not ever having been outside of the green pasture, Kevin's life is routine and satisfying. He knows there is something on the other side of the fence, but is captive to the comfort he knows, provided by the memories he experiences. Yet, as God called the Israelites into the wilderness, God calls Kevin towards something better than what he has tasted or seen. God also calls us towards something more, something better. No matter the past hardships, routines, or joys we have experienced, God is inviting each of us into a new journey to search our hearts and worlds for something more. Like Kevin, each of us are invited to step outside of our pasture to experience God's love and grace. Are you ready to open your hearts and step outside your pasture this Advent season? You never know what you might encounter along the way. Join us next week for Chapter 2 as we continue to hear about Kevin's journey.